Let's take a look at some of the matches that we're going to be recapping for everyone, which was 5 games that took place in midweek action for NWSL Challenge Cup. Orlando Pride versus Gotham FC, Chicago Red Stars versus Racing Louisville, Washington Spirit versus North Carolina Courage, Portland Thorns versus Angel City, and Houston Dash versus Kansas City Current. We're going to be taking a deep dive on a trio or so of these games because there were certain teams that kind of tipped the scales a little bit when it comes to the group standings in the East, Central, and West divisions. And 2 of these teams in particular are really kind of starting to separate themselves kind of from the pack, right? While another one of these teams finally got a breakthrough win, right? And we're going to start at the top of the docket here with Orlando Pride versus Gotham FC. We got to chat a little bit about Gotham FC finally picking up a win in the Challenge Cup. Lisa, what were some of your takeaways from this match?
I think you've said it best, Sandra. Finally getting a win. When we previewed the Challenge Cup and previewed Gotham, we had a lot of high hopes for them with bringing in Christy Mewis, bringing in Ashlyn Harris and Ali Krieger, and what they have in their relationship up front with Purce and Anamanu and Monahan. There's a lot of good pieces there, but we didn't see that come together in these first few weeks of Challenge Cup. Honestly, the first 60 minutes of this match against Orlando, even. This was a big game. Emotions were very high. Harris and Krieger returning to Exploria Stadium in Orlando for the first time, going against their old club. And what we've seen from Orlando throughout this Challenge Cup is a little bit of ups and downs. They have moments where they can play good defense and they kind of bunker in and they're a scrappy team that's pretty aggressive. And they have moments of good play. But overall, I would have expected Gotham to dominate this game a month ago when we talked about this between these 2 sides. And that's just not what we saw. Ultimately, Gotham, they did get on the board, but not until the 86th minute or so on a goal from Margaret Purce. And even then, it was almost like, okay, a goal's a goal. You found the back of the net, but there was nothing super surprising about what Gotham was doing. They weren't dominating this match on every single area of the pitch, which is pretty surprising. I think we're seeing more development from Gotham, though, because they get their first win and they walk away with 3 points in this one.
Yeah, the late game goal was spectacular, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's just call it what it was. Like, it was a spectacular goal from Margaret Purce to put up Gotham in a late game situation, right? And it was one of those goals that felt like once it got scored, it's like, okay, this is a wrap, despite there being maybe a handful of minutes remaining in this game. Tough break, honestly, if you're the Orlando Pride side of this match, when you're watching it, or if you're a fan viewing it, or if you're a player playing in it, right? To sort of kind of go all the way, playing an 86-minute game that looked like you were going to walk away with a bit of a result, and then just sort of kind of have this kind of mental lapse, right? It was a goal that came off of a throw-in, if I remember correctly, late in the situation where we've seen that in a couple scenarios throughout different matches already in this Challenge Cup, where there's sort of been this lull in play a little bit, and all of a sudden a team kind of gets this breakthrough goal off of maybe some sloppy play off of a throw-in. And so you have somebody like Margaret Purce, right, who has kind of shown us already, has that presence of mind to just like make that smart decision when it counts. And we saw her win that penalty, right, with the foul against Trinity Rodman in the box in the prior week, and then now this one, making sure that she was there to beat her defender and beat the keeper off their line. So to walk away with this win, it's like there's a ton of things here still to see for Gotham, and hope that they'll continue to build on their things, on their offense, specifically on their attack, because I think a lot of people are looking in on this Gotham side and saying, kind of, we're expecting a little bit more dynamic play, maybe a little bit more dynamic movement in the attack. So these early weeks of Challenge Cup, I think, are leaving some questions for other folks. But it was good to hear Purce kind of in the post game speak a little bit about that and say, listen, we know that there's more to come for us, and hopefully this is what it's going to be. And sometimes you need that type of goal, or maybe you need that type of result, that maybe that's the moment that's going to sort of spark and wake things up for a team. So I'm hoping that that's what this is going to be for this Gotham FC side.
I hope so. You're exactly right on that, because we were expecting more in their attacking presence, because this is a forward group that has played together and has a lot of skill. On the other side of it for Orlando, Michaela Clough has impressed me a lot. And this is going to be a very challenging year for Clough and for Orlando in how Clough can make an impact in the game. Because as a rookie coming in, how much of an impact can you actually make as a team that's not picking up wins, not picking up results, and not really dominating on the field? How can you leave your mark? So this year, I'm really excited to watch the development of Michaela Clough under Amanda Cromwell and alongside players like Sydney LaRue and Gunny Jonsdottir in the midfield, Erica Timrak, to help Clough be a little bit more controlling on the ball, which is what we saw against Gotham, picking up the ball in tight spaces, getting on the half turn, driving at defenders, and then spraying the ball out wide. It was impressive to see. So I'm excited to continue to watch Clough and her development, even though she might not be getting results in Orlando overall.
Yeah, let's take a look at the next match that we want to take a little bit on a deep dive on. We are going to take a look at Houston Dash versus Kansas City. This is another game that, again, is sort of bringing the Central region into picture, right? We see Gotham steadily trying to keep pace a little bit with North Carolina Courage, who are on top in the East. And now here in the Central, Kansas City Courage walking away with a 3-0 victory on the road against Houston Dash, and really kind of putting some separation between themselves in the mix of this central division in terms of the goal differential, at least, right? So we're talking about a full 3-point swing and some goal differential coming into play for Kansas City Current. But I think what's really impressive about this, Lisa, is that they're doing this without some of their star signings that they made in acquisitions over the offseason. And it's delightful to see the Current kind of shedding that 2021 and then coming out here in 2022 and kind of showing that they're out here to compete.
The irony of talking about Gotham and then talking about Kansas City is we had both of these teams high hopes for them for this season coming in. Gotham falling short of those expectations that I had personally, and Kansas City exceeding them. We knew Kansas City was going to be a force to be reckoned with, but as you mentioned, having players that are now out in Lynn Williams and limited minutes in Sam Ewis, and this team still being able to put together a complete 90 minutes and having consistent players in Kristen Hamilton, Haley Mays step up and be those game changers in this match. I think one of the most important things about this Kansas City versus Houston game is that Kansas City scored in the opening 2 minutes off of a set piece. Houston sleeping, just sleeping. This is a team in Kansas City that's what they want to do. They want to put other teams to sleep. They don't want to be that team that other opponents have circled on the schedule. We got to watch out. This is going to be a big matchup, because that's not what they have been. And then Kansas City is going to come in and it's almost like a slap to the face. So that open goal off of the corner kick, Taylor Leach finding the back of the net for Kansas City, that was huge. And I think that shocked Houston a little bit, because what we talked about from Houston's last match last week is Sophie Schmidt playing higher up the pitch. That's where she does better. We saw her get the start in midfield for Houston and James Clarkson against Kansas City, but it wasn't enough, especially to have the opening goal come so early in the game and on a set piece. That's just a big mental lapse for Houston. I think that throughout this match as well, Jean Campbell in goal for the Dash, she didn't have her best performance. She made a few mistakes. She came out on an opportunity that I personally thought was a handball coming outside of the box that Kansas City didn't ultimately score on, but it didn't matter. They were able to get a few more, another one before half from Hamilton, and then Lola Bonta sealing the deal around the hour mark for this one. But I'm very impressed with what we're seeing from Kansas City. I'm very impressed with the rotation they're finding in their back line and playing different players throughout the combination play up top. Hamilton has taken on the role to be the goal scorer for this team in the absence of Mewis and Williams. And Hamilton is doing a great job at it. I'm love watching Kansas City play right now. They're really fun.
Yeah, same here. I think we had high hopes for them right in our power rankings and in all of the work that we were doing towards the offseason in terms of ranking teams and what we were going to be placing them for the 2022 season. And this team hasn't disappointed, right? And I think what I'm most impressed by is their ability to adapt tactically, right? In order
Yes.
to ensure that they're producing results without these players that they went out and made big trades for, respectively, whether it was a Sam Mewis or a Lynn Williams. Mewis has been on a minutes restriction with this team over the first couple weeks, and then didn't see action against Houston. And then you had Lynn Williams in the announcement that was made was she was going to be out with a season-ending injury, so missing week 2 action and obviously not available for this week 3 match and for matches to come. But we saw this team make those adjustments already in week 2, right, against the Chicago Red Stars team. But we saw them make another adjustment against this Houston Dash team, kind of coming out in a 5-back a little bit and sort of
Mhm.
maybe confusing, Houston in terms of what they were going to be presenting to them on the pitch rather than what they were essentially had prepared for. So it's exciting to see that out of this Kansas City side. And it was great to see the rookie Elise Bennett get some time with this team. Because I think when we both sort of saw that Lynn Williams was going to be out, I think we both knew, hey, they've still got Kristen Hamilton, right? That is an elite, experienced forward in NWSL. She's someone who can be relied on for goals. But this still early in the Challenge Cup where you can have a rookie forward like Elise Bennett get some minutes, get some starts, start to evolve and create some chemistry with this attack, and maybe kind of have like a little bit of a run, an early run at getting her name in the mix for rookies who are going to try to make an impact this year. And I think we saw it with her 2 assists in this game. It was delightful to see. It was a little bit of a statement game, I think, from Kansas City, although maybe they might not be referring to it, but it's definitely a bit of
For sure.
reintroducing yourself. Like, hey, we're here to compete, so don't count us out. So I loved it. I love that it's 3 goals from 3 different players and the rookie getting a couple assists.
And Bennett is the one that had the breakaway where Jane Campbell coming out just outside of the box and deflecting that ball, and then Bennett looking to get the follow-up and just nearly missing that, which a few more games under her belt, I don't think Bennett's missing that. This is a rookie that's looking to take every chance she gets on the pitch to improve her skill. But definitely a big match, right? It's fun to watch Kansas City evolve, especially from what they were last year through their offseason changes and acquisitions, and now into this Challenge Cup.
Yep. Got one more that we're going to get through in terms of a deep dive of the matches that took place midweek. Portland Thorns versus Angel City. Another lopsided score. Another 3-0 victory for last night's matches. Portland Thorns walking away with the victory in this one over Angel City. Goals from Sophia Smith, from Yasmin Ryan, Morgan Weaver. It was the late night match of the evening. It was the NWSL Action After Dark type of game. It was the late night title card. So maybe some folks didn't get a chance to take a look at this game and see what kind of came out of it. But we're talking about teams and individual performances that we've been very impressed with from last night's matches. And I think we're looking at this Portland Thorns side, and we got to talk about Sophia Smith, Lisa.
We have to. This game was fun if you're a Portland fan. Not so fun if you're an Angel City fan, but as a neutral in myself, just watching for good soccer, this game was tremendous to watch. Having Sophia Smith up top with Morgan Weaver, we've seen Smith and Sinclair, that duo, a lot and what they can do, but to have Weaver and Smith bouncing off of each other, it was tremendous to watch. Off the ball, Morgan Weaver logging miles, tracking down the ball, putting Angel City's backline under a lot of pressure, forcing the ball one way. And then they worked so well together off the ball, staying really tight and central, which forced Angel City to make really dangerous passes that then Portland could pick off and go down the line. So it's really fitting that Smith and Weaver both ended with a goal in this match, because I think their work rate was impressive. It was really fun to watch. We're seeing what Coach Wilkinson is doing with this team and with the talent that she's been given. And she's thinking outside the box. Yeah. And that's really, really fun to see. I think some people were a little surprised not to see Sinclair in the lineup, but this is a quick turnaround for Portland. Just 3 days on the front end, a midweek match, and then 2 days on the back end, essentially, before you get ready for another game. But this was a lot of fun. We also saw Rocky Rodriguez out there for Portland, controlling that midfield and doing a really nice job there. Bella Bigsby in goal, playing really well. And honestly, Angel City, they were flat in this one. Kristen Press causing trouble, but she will always do that. She will always cause trouble. Her shot selection was fine. Nothing special. It wasn't great. It's almost like, Press, can you look to combine and pass to Lucy and combine with Endo, or do something else instead of taking it yourself? Because when you're shooting from 25 yards out and you've got 6 defenders in front of you, Bigsby's going to get that. It's almost like they were missing that final pass, but the spread of goals as well, 31st minute, 53rd minute, and then 78th minute, I think was also telling of how Portland gradually continued to control this game from the first whistle until the very end.
It's tough a little bit, right? It's like we know that they're coming into this year that there were going to be a couple expansion sides, Angel City being one of them. And we know the history of expansion teams as they sort of get out there and start to get matches under their belt, and sort of maybe the difficulties in kind of having these slow starts, right? And we're started seeing that with Angel City. And we saw that kind of level out, I think, within 30 minutes. They kind of had a similar start to this game that they did in their previous match against OL Reign, where they tried to make something happen very, very early in the first half, right? And then nothing ended up coming from it. And then things leveled out around the half-hour mark because you had Sophia Smith get that breakthrough goal. And we just sort of witnessed in this match, a game which they were without Savannah McCaskill, and sort of this centrally just not able to make anything happen in terms of the numbers that they were going up against in Portland's middle third. This 3-back that we're watching from Ryan Wilkinson and the Thorns is gonna it's hard to believe, but it's probably just gonna get better with time, quite frankly. And I'm not trying to say like this is a game that they should have won by multiple goals, right? Because you have an Angel City side that is still trying to figure things out. So maybe getting a win against this Angel City side with only a goal would have maybe felt disappointing, right? But I don't think that's necessarily the case. We have that half-hour window where I don't want to say it was back and forth, but you saw Angel City making attempts to try to get on the board. And a lot of it was finding Kristen Press, right? And Kristen Press will bail us out and she's going to save us. And that's tough, when you're missing somebody like a McCaskill and you're on the road, right? And you're playing in front of the opposition's crowd, and it just never came. And you maybe wonder if the idea was to try to get on the board early and make it a game of things early on. But when that doesn't happen, you have a team like the Thorns sort of take control of the game and do what they do and kind of run away with it. But very impressive performance from Smith. It was just another one of these kind of breakout performances where you're just looking at it and you're like, yeah, this is the new face of the Portland Thorns attack. It's going to be alongside other players, whether it's a Yasmin Ryan or Morgan Weaver, or at times, a Christine Sinclair. But in terms of the future of this club, it's absolutely Smith moving forward.
It has to be. And even Smith and Weaver together, I think that combo is one that wants to stay together. They can feed off of each other and move forward like that. I want to make a probably controversial point about Angel City in this match. They were without Savannah McCaskill, who is the player that they lean into to control the midfield. And up against Portland, that was tough. No one was going to be able to do that. I mean, Portland's midfield is really, really strong. This almost felt like a throwaway game for Freya Coombe and for Angel City. And it was a midweek match. You're without Savannah McCaskill. You're going into Portland Thorns and Providence Park. It's a quick turnaround. It was almost like, all right, let's close our eyes and get through this 90 minutes of doing this, because we didn't see anything different. Even from first half to second half, we didn't see that many tactical changes from Angel City's side. It was almost like, all right, let's try to push through another 45 minutes, see if we can just hold them off a little bit longer instead of trying to impose Angel City's game onto Portland. My take from body language, from what we saw, there wasn't there wasn't a lot there,
I
especially
think
coming
I
out of
think once
halftime.
those extra goals came in the second half, it kind of was you could sort of see the concession where we saw
Yes.
Kristen Press coming off, I think in the 79th minute. It's just one of those things where it's like, okay, this isn't our game, this isn't our night, doesn't go in our way. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think
I I
when
don't
you're looking
either,
at the
but
type of week ahead for a lot of these teams.
I don't think there's anything wrong with it either, but at least and who knows, I'm not in the training room with Freya Kuhlman, what she's talking about and what Press is talking about with the team, but focus on one thing, like, let's connect passes or let's win the 50-50 balls. Like, there's gotta be something that you can improve on. Use the day because you're out there
Yeah.
running around using the energy to work on something, get better, move players around, get younger players more time. Just my 2 cents. I don't know. We'll
Yeah, no,
see.
I don't think
We'll
that's
see.
unfair to mention at all. I mean, the Challenge Cup, it is what it is, right? It's in
Yeah.
front of us, and we're evaluating the games, but you still have to do game management, load management, things like that. So if that was, a certain part of the plan, I don't think that's unfair to maybe bring up or chat about. In terms of the other matches, we had a couple draws to close out Wednesday's slate of games. Chicago Red Stars and Racing Louisville playing to a scoreless draw in a rainy, soggy match. And then Washington Spirit and North Carolina Courage playing in a 2-2 draw to sort of close out things here. Of these two games, Lisa, which of the four teams here maybe stood out in terms of a performance for you and why?
I'm going to say Washington Spirit
Okay.
because they went down a couple goals at first, 2 goals, down by 2, and then able to come back. And that's the Spirit team that we really haven't seen much of. And going up against a North Carolina team that is the best in that division right now in the East region, I think that Washington, they've been on a progressive increase in their skill and their consistency and what we're seeing from them. And we got to see it even more growth from the young crew and the crew that knows each other in
Yeah.
Washington Spirit. I liked this game and handing North Carolina their first draw of this Challenge Cup, their first non 3-point game.
Yeah, they were on a bit of a win streak for a little bit, but still undefeated, I guess they could say. Like
Yeah.
some other clubs can also say that in Challenge Cup here. But I'm with you. I thought that was a very exciting match. I think North Carolina Courage are going to be disappointed, right, to sort of walk out away with only the draw after kind of dominating a little bit of that game in the
Yeah.
first half. But really nice to sort of see the energy from the Spirit kind of coming into that second half. Red Stars and Racing Louisville, a little bit difficult to kind of gauge. Again, it was another weather match for the Red Stars, the second consecutive one. They had a cold, windy affair at SeatGeek Stadium, and then this one was a rainy, soggy
Oh,
affair,
it
absolutely
looked
impacting the
miserable.
pitch. Yeah, you kind of
Miserable.
saw the ball not kind of really going where players wanted it to go at times, pockets of the pitch, slowing it down or changing the trajectory. I believe at one point my reaction to watching this game going into the second half as both teams were scoreless was that it was only going to get worse a little bit. That the weather was going to start coming down a little, the rain was going to come down a little bit more, and that if there was going to be a goal for either side, it was probably going to be a little bit of an oops. And that almost happened for
No.
Racing, except again, physics, weather kind of prevented this goal side for the Racing Louisville side to maybe kind of walk away and steal a bit of points. But that's how things shook out for midweek match